want to make it like a cyborg. They want to chip you in the brain. They want to do all this stuff. They want to put synthetic stuff in your DNA. So you're going to become like a live living antenna when anything that comes in through anywhere can tell you what to do, and but also can shut you down. So you become this cyborg. This is actually the mark of the beast, the way they're talking about.
Hi, Marina. Thank you so much for joining the Celeste Ball podcast. I'm so
Thank you
excited to
so
have
much
you
for
here.
having me. It's a pleasure. Hello, everybody.
I've been a huge fan of Marina Jacobi. It started with me watching you on Gaia TV. Then I binged watch every single video of yours on YouTube. Then there was a book that you said that, only the enlightened ones will be able to understand the code in the book. So I tried to see if I was the enlightened one. I didn't understand any code. So that was not me. But I am like, watched everything. I tried to change my diet according to yours. And I'm so excited that my audience gets to hear you and speak with you. Thank you so
Yes,
much for
thank you.
joining.
Well, I wish I was very good with the diet too. You'll see through the videos of the detox videos, but I must say that I'm back into only fruits until I detox properly. That's how it works.
Yeah, because everyone deals with
Yeah.
the temptations. So, my first question to you is, can you tell us what was your life like before you started channeling or automatic writing?
I was actually more of a very like a tomboy, to be honest. I wanted to experience a lot of stuff, and I was running around the fields and, being in a mountain area and whatever we had. And it was exciting time, I must say, in the beginning of my childhood. Now, when I look back, was literally prairies and climbing mulberry trees and all the stuff that it's lovely for a childhood. But I had a very like lucid dreams, and the dreams were always like becoming true. And I predicted the passing of my grandmother without me knowing. And 2 years later, exactly what I said happened. And that led to a journey. Then I started talking about extraterrestrials. I wanted to write books about it. And one of the years when I was maybe 11 or 12, my mother went to an expo for people that are doing energetic work. And when she came back with a couple of people, they were doing this energetic work around. And I was in a circle. There were three of them, and I was in the middle. And when they started moving their hands, I almost passed out. And when they saw me passing out, they moved their hands in a certain way, and I immediately regained consciousness. And that triggered me. It was like, how is this possible? And I started asking a lot of questions. And my mother said, listen, if you just want to connect with whoever is out there, why don't you just take a pencil and a paper and try to scribble whatever and see what happens? And because I was so curious about things, I did that for a long time. I started practicing, and it was a little scribble and then words and sentences. And then I realized that the sentences were basically trying to tell me something. And I started communicating like from a child, a teenager, with these beings that they were always putting nice encouragements. And I developed trust. I never did that to tell a lot of people. It was just for me, and my mother probably knew about it, but it was nothing really big until I was able to come to America. Eventually, I married, had two children, and I was always doing this job, by writing and doing stuff like this on a regular basis. You must understand that I achieved that through consistency. So don't think this is going to happen once in a while. This was with consistency. I learned how to communicate, and was very interesting for me until I realized that they would say some stuff that may happen. Not every time, but most of the time, but usually with some kind of a communication with the other side. I had no idea what I was doing at that time, but I put a trust because all the messages and everything was encouragement, like forgive now, you don't have to do that, be good and things like that. And so in 2010, I was in my son's bedroom, was cleaning the bedroom, they were at school, and I had the urge. I usually have the urge to pick up the pencil and the paper. And at that time, that's what happened. And for the first time, I ended up making a picture of an extraterrestrial that looked like the Greys. But actually, they told me that they're the hybrids. And they said, Marina, we're the hybrids. Very nice, to meet you. And be careful. We want to tell you that be careful what you're thinking, because whatever you're thinking, we can see it as a hologram. And we can see everything, the thinking and all the stuff. And I was then fascinated. I was not scared at all, because the entire life I knew I wanted to talk to ETs and all the stuff. I was fascinated. For me, did not make sense at all. How is it possible to have billions of stars and it's only us? So I knew something was off with that information. And then I grew up in a communist country. I left when I was 20 years old to America. So I did everything by myself. I left with $600 in my pocket, and I did it all by myself. So I was a tough cookie. I'm street smart. I knew how to do stuff, but you have to very quickly book educate also in order to survive. And so you know how to look through things when things are happening like this, so you don't start trusting right away. But what happened is every time they tell me something would become true. So they start encouraging me to start teaching me about the holograms and the universe and downloading information that everything is in the present. And I'm going, what do you mean in the present? What about the past and the future? And they start explaining stuff to me. But for me, it was just mind boggling. And if I didn't believe anything they tell me, all of a sudden through synchronicity, some video will pop in and will explain exactly what they were saying. So when I start seeing that type of synchronized situations, I really start saying, oh my God, something is here. And the information became more complex and complex, to the point that I start questioning the reality, because everything that they told me was exactly the opposite that they were teaching us everywhere. And you start literally, it's challenging situation, because it's only you. You can't talk to anybody. You can't confront anybody with this, because they will think that you completely lost your mind. And then during that time, now in my YouTube, the harmonic reactor, if you scroll down, you're going to see the detox videos. Well, these videos, keep in mind that I was at that time after 40. It took me a 1 year of elimination diet to use their protocol exactly how it's in the video. And for disclaimer, I'm not a medical doctor, so I can not tell you what to do. I can show you what I did. And this is how the videos are. But you would see the result that there I'm 42 at 3 years old, and I look like 15 years younger, because it literally re-cell generate my cells. And it's a tough process. And after a while, of course, I've ruined the diet. I blow up like a balloon. But right there in this video, you can see what is absolutely possible to do when you raise the frequency and change the cellular structure of your body. You actually start taking frequency out of the prana, and the molecular structure changes through the DNA, and you actually do not decay the cells, and you can stay always young. So this is the truth about the youth. So extraterrestrials, the hybrids, taught me that diet, and I did very well with it. I was very strict with it. And during that time, it was also challenging, because I've realized that we're in a prison planet. I've realized the truth. I had a depression, and I'm going, oh my God, what are we going to do? This is insanity. Somebody's overtaken our consciousness, create a structure within the field of our mind. And I've realized that reality is actually, the way they taught me, is created through frequency and sound. And when you mobilize different magnetic and gravitational fields based on location, becomes matter. And that's how you create reality. And when that matter of a frequency that creates this molecule for itself, literally for itself, it's its own universe. And that little universe of molecule, based on vibration, vibrates so quickly that start reprinting for itself next to itself to infinite. And each time you imprint that molecule for itself, when it prints for itself, creates a new universe, and yet they're looking like doubles, but they're yet holding completely different vibrational sequence. And in each universe, you create a reality, and you're reprinting another version of yourself. and everything in it. So you actually not changing the universe, you actually changing your vibration, and based on that vibration you create a new universe every moment to moment. So this is how you have instantaneous healing. This is how you can forgive somebody instantaneously, because everything in the past doesn't matter anymore. That is in a completely different timeline and different universe. So this is the stuff they start teaching me. And of course, all that information for everybody that is here, you can study it through my website marinajacobi.com and start from Jumpstart for Beginners. And you, because that's gonna bring you to how this thing works and how the quantum structure works. So this is how they brought me, the hybrids brought me to that location. But what happened is when I panicked, they said, okay, stop watching what's really going on. Let us tell you how you can get out of this reality. And immediately they start teaching me the quantum structure of manifestation. What is reality? How the reality is made? What is a hologram? What is a fractal momentum? What is a timeline? What is a fractal expression of itself? And all this stuff that became a quantum physics. And after 1 year after that, all of a sudden, first of all, I was not allowed to talk to anyone with all that information. And they asked me to not to work, to sit home. Of course, I didn't listen. I went into not to go to work, to study with them. My husband had a situation with a car accident. My second child was sick, and I basically, who is gonna support us? You know what's happening. And my husband worked in the entertainment business, so if you don't work, you don't bring the funding. And I didn't listen. I went to work, and sure enough, after 2 months, I quit because I had women that were the age of my mother fighting between each other, and I was always the referee. And finally, I quit there. It was total fear, and they start teaching me the quantum structure again, how this works, how do you manifest, and I reluctantly start listening to you. During that time, I started creating from ground zero incredible manifestations based on the teachings of how the reality works and how you project your emotion, thoughts, and deeds in order to shift into a timeline where whatever you want is there. And all my materials is based on that. So with that material, you have the creation of consciousness, how you can create, how you can construct and deconstruct realities and create universes. So that is the key of creation. But I just want to say that after that, I was connected with Ra, with a spark of the consciousness of Ra. And then you find out that I was part of that too. End up teaching me, was very strict, end up teaching me more of the quantum manifestation. And Ra introduced me. So now I have the hybrids. I had Ra came in a year later. And all of a sudden, Ra introduced me to the Council of Nine. And Council of Nine is very high order souls that are coming from different universes, and they can bilocate, shift, and they are like almost like a Supreme Court. They can oversee humans, they can oversee extraterrestrials, and they can change bylaws, basically your agreements, your stuff with whatever you have to experience. And after that, I had 11 dimensional views connected, but primarily I work now with the Council of Nine, and they're the ones that actually work with me every day. Sometimes I have now the ETs are coming, like hybrids, to tell me something. But then the harmonic reactor, one day I was in a house and I heard you gotta write the harmonic reactor. And it took me 1 year until I download the book. It was the direct channeling for the harmonic reactor, when it's about advanced extraterrestrial technologies, how you heal, including organic intelligence sequence, how you put that frequency and it starts that new sequence of organic intelligence, not AI. So there are two different versions, and that is based on parallel realities. So basically, the Pleiadians, I found out that I come from Pleiadian structure that is down through technology, and because we found out the planet Earth is a archonic, AI hologram that was locked in time-space continuum. And that is probably very advanced for everybody, but in a short time, I just want to give you a little speck of what's really going on. And if you want to learn more about it, I suggest you watch all the videos and study the videos. They are free for humanity. If you wish to leave a donation, is greatly appreciated. But if you have nothing, you can access all the information. So basically, the Pleiadians downloaded that information for me. And the Council of Nine ended up giving a lot more. So I have them back and forth with different information, but primary is the Council of Nine that I'm connected with.
Thank you so much, Marina. That was a lot for me too, and I'm going to break it down. So the first question is, You right now you've complete it seems like you're in a completely different world, right? Have you ever felt like I wish I didn't do any of this? Because once I started diving deeper into all of this thing and I started realizing, oh my god, is what I'm surrounded with not true? Am I going to be alone? It's like, because right now with my family, they don't understand what I'm doing. They think I'm crazy. How did you, or like, when did you decide to come out of the closet? And do you wish you could go back? How do you function right now with this, with all the information that you know, and then realizing that everything around you is not real?
Well, what happens is you're starting to create, you shift your consciousness into realities that the people, when you reprint these people in it, because you're the creator, becomes like a mirror image. Every person becomes a mirror image from you with another version. And when you shift your consciousness there through total consistency, the people around you become, and they start thinking the way you do. And it's a process of mutation. When you have consistency and you don't give up on what you're doing, you actually shifting the timelines by building a new sequences of realities that are in completely different vibratory state of existence, is above the structure of three-dimensional platform. And you do that exactly the ways in the videos that I say there. You have to project, you have to think about it, you have to feel it. And when you feel something, you have to think that this is right now, not before, not later. You don't wait for anything. If you want something to happen and to manifest, understand that you have to create it in the now, and you have to think that this is happening now, because nothing else exists. And I know it's kind of sounds easy right now, but I must tell you that you must practice with exactly how the protocols are, because you need to build consistency. That consistency, every emotion and every thought is a frequency, it's a sound wave, and that sound wave, when you project it within the field around you, becomes a mantra, becomes a geometric pattern of a life force resonance. And this is how reality is created. So in order this resonance of life force to become matter, because remember, everything is a frequency, and to become more dense, you have to have consistency of the same emotions, the same actions and thoughts. You can take different approaches if you have challenges through the process of achieving it, but never give up by understanding that if one time you thought of it and you truly believe that it's true, already exists. But whatever already exists in a field, you gotta bring it down in a proper frequency for you to see it as a matter. So that's why you need the consistency and not to give up. And I always give the example, you know you have it, but you don't know where you're gonna get it. So you play the hide and seek game, and that's how you create, in a nutshell.
There was a video where you spoke about manifestation, where you were like, you wanted to get the elevator and you just thought about the elevator coming to you. And then the elevator did come to you, but it was your uncle who came in. And you thought that that was not the right form of manifestation because there should be some other way. But then you explained that no, that is what manifestation means, because you wouldn't know how. You don't have to be specific about how it's going to come to you. And it would come to you in whatever way. So I tried that and I said, I wanted some sunglasses. And I just thought about it. And the next day, my sister comes home with her sunglass and she forgets it in my house and she leaves. And that's how I got my sunglasses. It's something that she forgot, but I wanted it and it appeared. So that's like, there's so much about manifestation on Marina's YouTube, which is amazing. When you say that you've got to be consistent, and you started it from writing about good thoughts and nice kind words to then you started receiving the messages. How long did that take? What was the time span, and what kept you going? What made you just keep doing and practicing the consistency?
To be honest, I don't know what kept me going. I must have had him within me, because I was completely by myself, and it was very, very difficult, because I didn't know where the next income is gonna come. Because they were telling me for me to give everything to humanity and allow people to support me, whatever they wish to. And through the trajectory of all that experience, I've realized that humanity is being completely overtaken. And when you give them a free will, most of them don't know how to support, even when they have, because you allow somebody to overtake your consciousness by telling you, in order for me to give you that, you must give me something. And when you have the free will, you don't know how to project that, even when you have and know that the person that is giving you everything have family to feed, because we've discovered that is only 3% from the people that are receiving all my material are supporting us, which we are surviving. But in order for us to build really utopia society and to move forward, we all have to support each other a lot more, because 3% is not going to cover somebody to completely do the job that they have to do. But more you do, more is increasing, and things are happening through synchronicity, so you really survive through the process. It's incredibly interesting how things work, because we have to wake up out of the deep amnesia that somebody put us into. Very important, because through all that reality, understand that when I'm talking to you, I'm actually creating and projecting another version of myself, and you become like a mirror image, but with another version. So in actuality, there's no separation in the field of quantum consciousness. We are all the same, created from the same structure. And in this archon structure that they put us into, this prison planet, they made sure that they separate us by color, by religion, divided the family and everything else. Why? Because human consciousness is not designed to be living in a field totally by itself. It's actually creating infinite probabilities of itself in order to create existence, to have a movement, to move and expand consciousness for itself, or whatever it needs to learn. And if you are going after somebody with negative intention, understand that once you project that frequency, it comes back to you. But the way you said it, you're never gonna know how it's gonna come to you. So if you evil to somebody, if you do negative stuff to somebody, it's going to come to you, because you're going to collect based on the reflection back from the mirror image in consciousness. So the whole thing of that material is unified field, unifying incredibly all of us. If you learn that, you will understand that none of us are separated, that it should not be any prejudice and dogma and separation by anything. We're all creatures, God consciousness expression in one momentum, and we all coming from one resonance, which is God itself, whatever that may be, whatever the way you said. But it was never separation. It was never, if you study the quantum structure, you will see that there's no barriers. And that barriers that were put through different platforms of expression, they were designed on purpose to separate you. Because when you project a hatred, you create in a lower vibrational sequence existence of reality, and the negative entities and negative structures live in that sequence, because they cannot convert through the heart of compassion and shift the reality above the structure to be whatever these positive timelines and positive worlds and extraterrestrials and realities exist. Because what we discovered, that the heart is not a pump. The heart is actually the tetrahedron, and you can find the book of Frank Chester that is basically talks about just tetrahedron, how the heart actually creates that spinning of a frequency and creates this very specific geometry. But guess what? Through that geometry, you convert everything that you collected, spins in a certain section, and opens a portal. Your heart creates the frequency of everything you project that comes back to you, collects the data, construct that in a frequency, sound, numbers in geometry, and will collect and mutate whatever you need to shift to the next moment. So if you want to go through stargates of reality, is the heart. That's why in order to go to these positive timelines of existence, whatever they say, oh, heaven and stuff like this, believe me, is this above structures of realities. But in order to see that, you actually got to go through compassion, through love, through help, through physically expressing your joy towards humanity in a daily basis, because that's what the heart is going to collect that frequency and open specific stargate in time space, so you can express and shift your consciousness to realities that all this exist. And not, oh, if you have 10 wives, or if you have that, then you go to heaven, or if you be only this religion and only that religion. This is designed, we were all, believe me, this is not judgment, this is design, we were all being manipulated. And if you start studying the quantum structure, you will realize that there's a unity and there's no separation to any of us, and we're all brothers and sisters, no matter what religion, no matter what culture you are.
When our ancestors say that the brain is actually the heart, does this mean that they knew already that this all the stargates and the portals is through the heart?
Yeah, they did know. The brain, there is a video that I have, which you're going to find again in marinajacobi.com, Jumpstart for Beginners. There is a video that is called Protocol to Manifest Potency. And that I suggest you study all the videos, 30 videos there, because the first couple of videos is the basics of your quantum structure, is like math. You can go in a very constructive videos when you missing the beginning is like a map, you're gonna get confused. But protocol to manifest potency video is very important because it's explaining you how your thought becomes a hologram. Emotion, when you put the emotion at the same time to that image of your thought that you're holding, it's a sound wave that
Hmm.
activates the hologram. And when you take the action with consistency every day, brings those two together and creates a matter. Actually, you inflate in a balloon, and when it's enough frequency, it pops up into some kind of a outcome of a situation between all these fluctuations. But that outcome could be positive or negative, and this is why you're gonna learn the intention of, is that a positive intention, is that a negative intention. And if it's a negative intention, you're actually gonna still accumulate through the heart, but the sequences is for negative outcome. And when we're talking about, there are also entities and people that are practicing black magic, which they are actually converting all the structure through very old-fashioned ways of, and secret societies, through to convert the structure where you can also create, but you summon negative entities. And this is where we have a battle. So you have to understand that we have a spiritual battle. Ascension for the planet Earth is a spiritual battle between negative entities and positive entities. And it's very important to understand that. If we caught up in separation by color and religion, you actually really off the path of what really is. And in order to convert it, we gotta unite. And the quantum manifestation protocols and the entire material is actually the key of how you convert all that stuff to unite everything.
When you say that, there was in the movie Matrix, they talk about Neo was being told that the negative entities are using us as a battery. How does that work? What does that mean?
Well, it's a bit complex, but since you asked me, I'm gonna explain. Now, in consciousness, there were negative entities that knew how to actually put a frequency in time space and create a hologram with a shield that inside you can create reality. But these negative entities needed a host body. Why? Because they were existing as an energetic field of consciousness, but a very dark and matter. And in order for them to sustain themselves and have this beautiful life, they have to have a host. So when the humans were created and we went into the planet, they overtake her by downloading information and overtake the human consciousness, and then they start teaching you the opposite structure of creation, how you overtake, how you create in a war, how you doing all this stuff, because that was collecting and making you do negative deeds. But when you do negative deeds, you're lowering the vibration of the consciousness down. And they need it for us to be in a lower frequency vibration, because this is the only timeline of reality, like a sound, think about it, a radio signal, they can exist. And in order for them to continue existing and creating these matter realities, this was the only way for them to do it. Actually, our body was their car, for example, their vessel. So each one of us has a consciousness within the body of that matter structure. And actually, the war is for your soul, to grab your soul, to capture it. Why? Because the humans, we have genetic components that are so long, because we have the genetics from a lot of extraterrestrial races, and we have incredible abilities. So when the scientist is calling junk DNA, this is a complete manipulation, because there's no such a thing as junk DNA, but we were suppressed, poisoned through food, water, air, things like this, for anything that you can possibly think of. And this way, they shutting down the sequences of your original DNA that was given by God itself, of Almighty, whoever that is. Okay. But God, when you look at the quantum structure, is actually energy field. And from that energy field, you can express God as Christian or as a Muslim. And they have this beautiful creation of how, for example, each religion has its own positive stuff, but everything was hijacked through the process. And the biggest wars for religious wars, Tell me what type of God will want war between each other, right? So, or you drink the blood of Jesus, or you all the stuff. Isn't that a very appropriate ritual? So you give the most precious to God. No, God will never ask you to give the most precious. He actually will ask you to preserve, to love, to maintain, and to protect your vessel. It will never tell you to sacrifice your most precious. So we were all manipulated, but when you do stuff like this, you also create a negative realities for yourself, and you create yourself a karma. Why? Because karma is all balanced negative frequencies that you cannot convert because you didn't do it through the heart. You did it through manipulation, through lies and deceptions. And this is why these negative entities needed us so they can maintain this timeline in time space for them to survive. Now, the next thing that they're doing, because we're moving to the next thing, this is why you have Agenda 2021, Agenda 2030 of extinction of humanity. Why? Because they reach a level of consciousness when they can use the artificial intelligence, which is actually a technology, which is incredible technology, but we're going to talk about organic intelligence, which is another version that extraterrestrials are using that is not overtaking the body. So in consciousness, you can actually mutate your DNA to heal everything. And if you lose a finger or something, the body can self-regenerate, or you can use AI, for example, to measure your sequences of yourself, put a frequency, and really rebuild your cells back to normal, because your DNA has the memory of how your body looks like and how long should be, for example, your finger or your nail, right? But what they did was they hijacked that, and now they want to make it like a cyborgs. They want to chip you in the brain. They want to do all this stuff. They want to put synthetic stuff in your DNA, where that's going to go like a nanomaterial, nanobots into your brain. And that nanobots with synthetic stuff is going to mimic your brain. So you're going to become like a live living antenna, when anything that comes in through anywhere can tell you what to do, and but also can shut you down. So you become this cyborg, living cyborg that you can replace anytime you want to. Why? Because they need only your brain. They don't need your body. Why? Because the brain, of the way God created us, is one of the most important and one of the most complex really technology, organic technology in the universe. And this is why actually you don't understand when they start doing different stuff in your body or chipping everything. This is actually the mark of the beast, the way they're talking about. So you think you're going through incredible technology, but this is not a technology. This is how they're going to overtake. Now, you can use it the way we're doing it, but with respect. And positive organic intelligence that I talk about it will never overtake your body. Why? Because even organic intelligence, even AI, is under the umbrella of God consciousness itself. If it's created, then it's part of God itself. But how you use it and what is your intention is different, and because you have a free will. So these negative entities end up using us, and now they want to move to the next level of creation for them. At the same time, when ascension is happening for God consciousness is moving to the next level of creation. But we naturally, because of how we are in the DNA, what we have from God, can mutate our DNA and move toward the portals of this creation for the next level of evolution, when we're going to become interstellar, we're going to have technology, we're going to be more sixth sense, you're going to have telepathy and all this stuff, or the way I do the stuff. This is the beginning of it. I'm prime example what we're capable of doing. But you have to maintain your body and your temple, which is your body, pure, proper food, not to put anything in the body that can change your DNA. And basically, you can tell me, well, they did a lot against us. Well, do your best. And then God knows his job, right? Do your best and don't consent to manipulation, because if you say, well, I had to do it because I was going to lose your job. Well, I'm sorry, but there's no middle ground. You may not be alive to have that job of what they're doing to us. Okay, so you have these entities that end up overtaking it by they want to instinct most of the humanity, because they want to move into this cyborg reality. Okay, because when they keep your consciousness down, they don't need so many people. You can move that. Why? Because they can shift their consciousness into this cyborg reality. They literally can shift their, downloading their consciousness into it. And yet you can download your consciousness from moment to moment, and you are downloading your consciousness moment to moment. Every single moment you shift, but that becomes natural. You don't need the technology to do it. And yet extraterrestrials are using this avatar technology of the movie Avatar. Remember the soldier how went into the other world? This is exactly what is possible to happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of us came like this. Why? Because you cannot drop a consciousness into a reality of a Archon AI structure timeline without a protection. You're going to be immediately recognized and destroyed. You need a protection. It's almost like sending a soldier at war without an armor. Can never happen. So that's why sometimes this technology's got to be used from the extraterrestrials in order for protection, because what they're doing to us right now. And it's time, really a time, if anybody is listening, for you to really go and look around. And I strongly suggest you look at the videos on rumble.com. If you do not have it in your country, doesn't allow, there's certain ways that you can apply to watch it. But one of the videos in this documentary is called The Fall of the Cabal, and the second one is the sequel of The Fall of the Cabal, and is literally a 10 hours of documentary. And a lot of this information is out there that you want to see. And there's a lot of doctors that you can see there that they talk about it, what really happened in 2016. I strongly suggest you look into the stuff. And they're doctors that literally know how to help you through all the stuff, because everybody was manipulated, whatever was really happening. So I know my answer to your question was long, but it's actually a very complex and very long, process of how we got here, because we were manipulated. Think about it, that we were basically trapped in this consciousness, and we were constantly, perpetually projecting the same frequency because the way we were lied to. You were told whatever you see to believe, and I'm telling you, you gotta create it to see it. You have to believe it and create it to see it. It's exactly the opposite. So somebody told you that when you're standing in front of the mirror images the real you, and I'm telling you that you are the real you, and whatever you see in a teleprompter on the TV is actually the mirror image of what you created. So if you created all that, you can also change it anytime you wish to. But because we're talking here of a potency of a frequency, if something in consciousness of that hologram took a position that is so stabilized within the field, you need to mutate that. That means you gotta break it down by frequency little by little to try to send more action in different methods to break it down. That, for example, that cancer, in order to heal it. And that will take trajectory. This is why it takes trajectory, like people like you and me and people that this is how we actually cleansing the planet and bringing everybody else to open up. Because even right now, if you're sitting here and watching this video, you've been activated from consciousness itself, from God itself, whoever your belief is, to see that video. Because if you were not ready, you would not project me to see me. You gotta be in a similar vibration as mine for me to even come into your consciousness existence. But now, because it's a free will, you have the free will to look at the materials, to expand your consciousness, to take some action and work on yourself in order to raise your own frequency for ascension. This is why you're here. This is why you're seeing this video.
So you had said that they've been trying to manipulate and change our DNA. What if we were taking these potions? Does it mean that all of us who had taken it cannot ascend? Do we still stand a chance?
No, what they told me, there were people that took the potion no matter what. In order for the rest of humanity to see dark to light, what is the evil, you have to know what the evil has done. So some people sacrifice themselves from the higher self in order consciousness to wake up and the people to see what was done to them. Because you can talk about evil, but if you don't see what the evil is doing, where is the evil? How do you know what evil is? So everybody has a role here, So even some people that took it on purpose and they wanted to take it, that's because they have chosen. So you can see. And the ones that are fighting and pulling that planet for the new beginning, we're the ones that actually gonna start breaking through all that, pave the way for and pull everybody in for ascension. So so they told me, the Council of Nine this time told me, the consciousness has the original DNA of the mother consciousness. It's a mother, something that is collecting and knows. Because consciousness is, for example, God and consciousness itself. Each reality knows for itself. The way, if you are God, for example, you know what your finger is and you know where it is. Well, the same thing is happening with consciousness. Knows exactly the pulsation of who you are. Because whatever you experience, whatever you collected, becomes a pulsation, and that pulsation has numbers and geometry, and God will know every moment in the now where are you and what you're doing. So if it knows your original DNA for the right people, they will have the right activation at the right time, as long as you don't continue consenting. For example, you do realize and yet you still consent, that is like, okay, I am ready to get the mark of the beast and that's it, I'm consenting to it. But if you completely blind it and oh my God, or got total fear or something happened, you were not around, didn't know, these people, they have chosen to be this way and something to happen to them. So you and I and everybody else can see and say, look what's happening, look what they're trying to do. So for everybody, it's going to be different based on whatever they have done. And keep in mind that some of the stuff that they were given, they transfer from person to person through intimacy. This is why I want to mention right now, you can check for yourself, in some of the hospitals, any man that receive this, stuff, you can give sperm for somebody to be impregnated. You can give a blood if you had that. Why is that? Why is that?
Yeah, that's true. In fact, men who haven't taken any of these potions are high in demand as well.
Yeah, and the problem is there were scientists, doctors actually, that they were nano and some kind of a medical doctor that they literally, I saw the video and you can see it in these other platforms that I mentioned. If you start researching, you're gonna find everything, but not in Google. Basically they show little video of somebody that end up taking everything, and within 2 weeks after intimacy, the second person end up getting the same stuff. That's why it's so scary. You gotta understand that that thing converts the DNA and you're no longer human. You actually have goes into the nucleus and gives you into the nucleus completely different sequence, and now your DNA mRNA is telling you, okay, you're no longer this sequence, you're no longer producing a cell for the brain, you're going to produce a cell for the heart, but that has a totally different sequence of what you originally created. And this is what it happened. And I feel so sorry because a lot of people are going to find themselves in predicament because of that, because of what really happening. And yet some people will survive through the process, but they also did something like Russian roulette. Some of the stuff maybe had something, some of the stuff didn't. Why? Because if something happened to you and something happened to a family member and you say, oh my God, look what happened there, and I come in and say, well, nothing happened to me, you're going to start fighting between each other. What is the truth really? Is it there? Is it not there? And nobody's going to believe it. I mean, they were very clever. So we actually have very, very evil, but very clever opponent. And you should not rest. You're in a chess game. You're on the battlefield. And right now in America, they're squeezing everything. Look at the borders. It's an absolute insanity. You have literally criminals coming through. Then you had one of the bridges there collapse. How convenient, this to happen. That is one of the major arteries and ports to supply New York City. Then 3 others, something happened. Now they go around and they do something in taking lands in Oregon, that they're shutting down little farmers for 2 cows. They have 2 cows or something because they come up with some kind of a stupid ideas about environment, and they're shutting down the farms that they have just because you had 2 cows. Tell me, how many people you're going to feed with 2 cows? You're not going to feed the whole Oregon area, but they're doing it because they're trying to shut down the supply of US. So US pretty soon, and I was telling everybody, guys, we're going to make it. We don't know how we're going to make it. So make sure you have a couple of months at least of food in the house until you stop, because they're trying to shut down the local farmers and they come up with ideas the way they do it. What I was told from the council, that yes, they will try to shut down stuff, they will try to do stuff, but it's never going to go to the level the way they originally intended, because God consciousness will interfere, the extraterrestrial will interfere, and we in the planet Earth, we have people, maybe they were mafia, they were something like this, but they were not Satanists. And I'm gonna put something here for everybody. I may sound crazy, but let me be. I'm not worried how you're gonna look at that, but what I'm asking you to look very deeper into the situation, especially with the videos, because we're dealing with people that are, you're gonna find out the sequel of the fall of the cabal, that we're dealing with a very old religion, Kazarian mafia, that originated, believe it or not, from Russia. And the Russians end up making sure that to kick them out of their country, they were able to escape. So I'm gonna say this: you will find out that Russia was never your enemy, but Russia was used so it could manipulate you. Okay, because what we find out that this was prehistoric. Through centuries, this Kazarian mafia was going around putting themselves in different religions. When they escaped Russia, they went around and they literally start hiding under religion like a secret covenant. They may say, oh, I'm a Jewish, or I'm Muslim, or I'm a Christian, but at nighttime they were really worshiping Moloch, and they were doing very negative stuff to sacrifice Bohemian Grove. You need to look it into that. Mason 33 degree, look it into that. All this stuff in secret societies. But you will find this, everything of what I'm talking about, and is a documentary, and the fall of the cabal, and the sequel of the fall of the cabal. Because in order for us to move forward, you have to see what's really happening, and for you to be smart enough and aware enough to look through the veil of the deception. It's very important, because everything they try to do is to put us against each other. Because I had actually a lady from Israel that had a session with me, and she told me how the government itself, they're completely manipulate everybody, how they were doing everything possible to attack the Palestinians, how also the Palestinian, the Hamas, was actually created from this Kazarian mafia. And they were basically, none of the Israeli poor people and none of the Palestinian poor people are guilty about that. Everybody is manipulated. And you have these groups that are constantly creating issue that are actually, they don't have a religion. They have that under Moloch, Kazarian mafia, and they're basically one society. So we're actually being attacked from a group of globalists that are created from UN and the foreign relations. And if you listen to the stuff that they want to do and how they want to shut down everything, and they want to put a chip, and they want to do a monetary system that is based on what you buy, what you drive, and all the stuff. Because when they do that, they can digitally shut down everything. And I know that we're going to have digital, but they told me it's going to be a new system that even the people think that they know, they don't know. And that system will be between gold, digital, and even cash. So in the end result, we're making it, but I simply don't know the steps. And through the steps, we can have a challenging situations, because we're being attacked. You gotta understand, we're here in war. America is under siege. America, you don't need to put a foot in the ground long time ago. Right now is a cyber war, and people have a very difficult time to realize that this is happening, while they have their minions put all over the place. This Kazarian mafia through century put people in the bank system, put people into any type of place that you can possibly think in, including municipal offices, religion, police, and any level of government. Why? Because that's how they control. And the good people were taken away, moved away, and the new people came in. That's how you control. That's why what type of a person is going to allow such a situation that's happening with the children right now in America and in the school system. This is absolute lunacy, that is happening, for you to do this to your children. And except for you to talk to the child, you actually converting them to these clinics, so they can actually, to the point that we don't know what is a woman anymore. And believe it or not, that situation with these people is only not even a 1%. What they do, the social media, is making that Americans are like that, which I lived in America. I live in America. I know this is not the case. People are not like that. You just have 1% that want to express like that. And that's okay, whatever you want to do, but not when you're trying to take over the consciousness of young children and you try to teach them absolute perversion through the school system. And this is where a lot of people now in America are actually going in municipal offices and the school boards and shutting them down, which is not shown in the social media. The American looks like complete lunatics, that they don't know what they're doing and they're kind of stupid, and you show but everybody is being brainwashed. They infiltrated, this Kazarian mafia infiltrated the school system. If you start looking what's really happening, they actually performing now. They have a club, satanic club, into the colleges. I mean, it's everywhere. Why? Because it's a final battle, and that Kazarian mafia, just satanic people, they're not hiding anymore, because literally every of your TVs, including all these major artists, they're performing satanic rituals on national TV. Go ahead and look at what Madonna is doing. Go ahead and look what Rihanna is doing. This is ritualistic, and what they do is they take in the most famous people and show them, convert them to become very evil, to perform this stuff in front of everybody. So don't think it's only America, because I guarantee you, everybody in whatever we are from, everybody is watching these Hollywood stars. So they're watching this, Rihanna, everybody else. So this is being performed to you. But you've got to understand that when you perform something like this, your subconscious mind is taking these subtonality sequences, because what they do in these videos, in these movies, they create a subtone. It's that is inside, and is creating very low resonance sound wave frequency, and is actually overtaking your consciousness, which you don't know. If you don't trust me, look into the 13th frame. 13th frame is something when you put a movie, and you can put between the frames of that movie literally a frame that you can say obey or kill or do whatever you want. And when you put it in a certain sequence, you don't see it through your eyes, but your consciousness sees it, the way the frame is moving. And when you put a sound into that, don't be surprised why your children act crazy, why something else is happening, because they're being exposed through this frequency sound, through the social media and do you know what Nickelodeon means? That everybody is watching. I don't believe in God. This is what it means when you put it in, or I reject God, or I don't believe in God, or something like this. But that's what Nickelodeon means. And we don't know, because they have these subliminal messages everywhere with everything you do, even your language. Disengage. What is disengage? Disengage. So you want to say disengage, but in the meantime, you really engage, and you must say off disengage, off disengaging. So all the stuff is being really manipulated. Why? Because words become mantra, sound wave, and they create reality. So if they give you the wrong wording, the wrong sentencing, the way you put in everything, this is how you create reality. The sound creates reality, creates mantras, creates holograms. We've been bombarded from everywhere. So until you physically take the action to learn, and that learning process, I'm warning you, is going to be a red pill. But if you get that red pill, you better be ready, because you're going to be challenged in every single level in your consciousness. You're going to want to cry. You're going to want to scream. You're going to say, oh my God, we've been lying everywhere. But you have to be strong. If you were not ready, you wouldn't see this video. You have to convert everything you have right now into be a warrior, because you came here for ascension. That's why you're here. And the only way you're going to survive through this ascension, if you really pick up and really do something about it physically to survive. You cannot just pray behind the couch. You have to take a physical action, because the physical action is actually constructing and really converting the reality, not only the thought. You have to have a physical action, because the physical action is actually bringing all the thought and the emotion into matter. So we have a very big job to do. And humanity is under attack, is under siege for your soul. It's a soul, because the soul is eternal, and you don't want to give your soul to these negative entities, whatever they're trying to do. And this is how they trapping. Because when you start learning this stuff, you're going to see what you were doing to your kids, how they were overtaking and how they were abusing these children to the point that they were carpetalizing their consciousness. And that child, out of fear, can be controlled. And it's called MK Ultra. Look into that. And you would see that some child at 8 years old could be trained to be a killer. Because one word you can say can switch his consciousness. Is going to think, not being Tommy, is gonna be Jason, and Jason will act like a cyborg, and who knows what can do. And they do that through, and you're gonna find about religious leaders also what is happening there. Just do the research. Do the research. We simply have to unite. And I'm sorry that I'm so frank with what I'm saying right now. Perhaps it's too much. But the truth is never too much. The truth is the truth. And we have to face it. Why? Because the only way we're going to move forward is to transform what is happening right now. And the only way you're going to transform it when you face it, break it through, and create the new reality. By helping each other, by uniting. with each other.
You know, when you said that there's a battle going on, right? And you can see the structure and the realities. Are we going to come out of it positive? Are we going to win the battle? How is that going to happen? Will we get to see it?
Yeah, okay. In a quantum structure, because it's no time, we already won. But individually, you're gonna experience how we get there, and some people won't make it because you consented to the negative. That's the thing, because the two
Mm.
realities of making and not making it already pre-exist. So if you want to really see the making of that outcome, you have to act through the heart and do everything impossible in the name of humanity, and not to consent to the manipulation, because there's no middle ground. We are in ascension. Nobody's going to say to you, oh, if you consent to that, no, you won't exist if you consent. Because what they were planning to do to us, to extinct us, lock us up in facilities and use us until you finish. If you don't believe me, watch these videos I'm talking about. Watch them of what they're planning to do. Put Agenda 2021, they couldn't do it. Now they're planning to do Agenda 30. Look into all this stuff. It's not going to work, but that doesn't mean they will achieve to a certain level. And I don't want you to caught up in the manipulation. Prepare with food for a couple of months, because now in America, they're trying to do food shortages and people are not seeing it yet. Most of us are, at least in my circle. But you having siege for the staff. Not only this, right now, tell me, how is it possible that regular person cannot get in a country, but you have criminals coming in and nobody knows? Do you know how many kids disappeared? Nobody knows where they are, because they're being given to the cartels for human trafficking. What's happening? Where are these children? Worldwide. Why are they using them? Because they use for these satanic rituals. And if you don't believe me, again, in rumble.com, you better go and look at it, and you will find a lot of people that are talking about it, that grew up and stuff. You'll find, I know it's dark, but how do you create the light when you move through the dark? Because they're both the same. There is no longer time for us to put our head in the sand. I may sound tough right now, and I may sound, what I say right now, very difficult and probably sounds crazy to you. But I challenge you, go and do the research of what I said, and you'll see through the veil.
I watched the Cabal, the fall of the Cabal on Rumble, and it really shook me to the core. I couldn't believe what I saw. But then after I watched it, then I started seeing the signs on the social media platforms where they say that this award is for the devil. Or when you see Agenda 30, there are all of these 15-minute cities that are coming out as well. You say that facilities, we might think that, okay, it actually looks like a facilities. No, when you say these 15-minute cities that are coming out even in the Middle East as well, it's coming out where you don't go out anywhere for anything. Everything would be within 15 minutes. Your food supplies, your medications, everything is in that. And you don't see what is happening outside of it. So I totally believe every single thing that you're saying. If that is the case, right, what percentage of us should awaken in order for us to not fall into this? Like, is there a percentage that has to awaken?
Well, it's gotta awaken 70% of humanity in order just to move, but we already did it. We already did it. You're in a timeline for it. Otherwise, everything we talk about it and Rumble will not exist. It's a fight. But in order for you to see this reality, you gotta make sure that you're on the right path. The way you treat people, the way you express yourself, the way you help. You must help your local community. Find local farming, support the local farming, connect the farmer directly with the store that you open in. Cannot be a middle guy. And if you want to, of course, 15-minute city, that's a great idea, but this is not agricultural city. You have buildings and then somebody is bringing everything. If you have a self-sustainable agriculture, or that you do forestry and just new methods of making like a 1.5 acre, there is a book that you can buy, Self-Sufficient Backyard, and it's teaching you how to preserve, but then look into forestry, how in you actually build this way of putting the plants together next to each other, that you can have the corn and you can have the green bean and then you have the melon, because all the nutrients are put in each other. So if you build edible garden and forestry, it's self-sustainable after a while. You don't have to worry about the weeds and stuff. There's actually edible weeds that are so potent in nutrition. So there are things, but we can take the hands and the stuff in our own matter, our hands. When you start connecting with each other I mean, right now in Bulgaria, there are people here that are actually connecting everything with each other, farmer to producer, directly to the people. When they end up buying and opening, people start opening stores that is called Hora od Naroda. And this store, for example, directly the farmers are bringing everything there. So we don't have a middle guy. And it's a huge movement that they start buying stuff in these little villages and restoring them and planting. It's an underground movement, even at the moment they try to break it down. Because they in Bulgaria, I just heard that they want to do the same thing they do in US through the school system, and it's coming from the National Foreign Relations through the UN. And if you hear what they're planning to teach the kids, your mind is going to be blown with the perversion and the stuff. And actually, if you do something like this right now in your child, you're going to be in jail for being a pedophile. And then they want to bring that into the school system, you know. So this is exactly what is happening. How do you destroy the nation? Through degradation. If you destroy their children, they're not going to know what to do, because your children is your future. Well, how do you reprocreate if you give this stuff to their bodies? So we are being globally under siege. And it's time everybody to wake up, because we're working very hard. And it's not time for you anymore to just pray. You need to take a physical action, get involved with communities, get involved with friends, stop the people from your municipal offices, because you have the right through the land to stop them. There is ways in every country to actually accountable your officials, because you elected them. But how do you know you elected them? Because there were cyber attacks with that too. There is a movie that is called 2000 Mules on Rumble.com. Then you're gonna find out real documentary with real proof. You're gonna see videos what they did with that election, and you're gonna find out that the people that are in office, they're not the right people that are in office, because was, you know, overtaken illegally. That's why President Trump is breaking records right now, but he broke the record in 2020 also, you know. And it's not that he's Messiah, is the savior. He's part of all that creation, because there are people that were in societies, in secret societies, but they're not Satanists. They don't want, for example, Putin is not the best guy in the world, right? But at the same time, they're not Satanists. So he will want to do everything humanity to survive. So that's why this war is happening. And that's what I said, you'll find out that Russia was never your enemy. When President Trump was a president, did you have any wars?
Yeah.
The country was in the best situation ever. The oil was so low. We were mass producing. We were bringing all the business back in. There was not war. And actually, you choosing the guy, he was never chosen, that actually left billions of dollars of military equipment overseas to the cartel and to the all the mafia there. What do you think is happening to the Hamas? Does that make sense? Or we don't know where trillions of dollars are, or we don't know where the children are. It's insanity. And now in New York, the mayor, they're so flooded with illegals. There is so much crime going on there, and the social media is stopping it. There was a person that was working in these hotels, and he was saying the horror stories that are happening inside these hotels. And yet is nothing, and it's hush hush in the social media. And now they're so overwhelmed. If you go ahead and look what's happening in New York, is I said it. The Council of Nine told me 2 years ago the democratic state's gonna look like totalitarian states, and it's already happening. You walk around, you don't feel safe in New York. There are people that are getting punched in the face on the subways and all these places, and all this crazy stuff, molestation and anything you can possibly think of. And people are gonna wait. Some of them wake up too late, but that's because they have chosen to be this way, you know, from consciousness itself. So you see what the evil is doing, and to whom. So this is what's really happening now. They shut down the bridge, you know, and you're gonna see now stuff happening. They're gonna scream about it, but it's about time. And New Yorkers are very tough and good people, by the way. They may be blinded because they're so busy in Wall Street and the stuff, but they will tell you in the face exactly the things are, and they'll fix it very quickly when they wake up. There's no joke with them. So I believe that they're gonna stand up and really do something. They just need to wake up a little bit more, but they will wake up when they're smacked in the face with some situations, and this is already happening. You know, with all the stuff. And so a lot of stuff are happening right now in New York that are not good at all, because even now the mayor is telling, oh, it's a good idea for you to open your door any illegal to come in the meantime, we know that 90% or 80% of them are sleeping cells. We literally have videos of people that are saying, you're gonna find out who I am pretty soon. It's almost like they've been sent here. And have you heard about a situation that there were people that are military personnel is sent from China? And I love Chinese people because they are literally want to rebellate. We're talking here about this, the party, the Communist Party, and they're sending the soldiers their whole they're literally being imported into different countries through some kind of a bridge that nobody knew that that bridge was built. And they have a facility, and you cannot even ask what are they doing in there, because they're ready to be literally flown into US border directly. This is what's really happening. America is under siege, and they need to wake up. We're gonna survive, and we're gonna go through. It's time to take a country back. So prepare, prepare for freedom. We have to take freedom back.
In the Bible, right, there is a mention of the 144K. Do you know anything about that? The 144,000 warriors that God has sent. Do you know anything like that?
That is the way they were telling me, is activation of the humans, and it's a timeline reality. 144 is a frequency sound wave. That frequency sound wave creates what? Mantra. If you put it in cymatics, if you put it on that, with the sound, and you see the sound how it's moving, what are you gonna see? A mantra of a hologram. Well, imagine that hologram is a waveform. That waveform hologram creates matter. Well, what is inside? That's a timeline. That's what it's talking about. That's why when you read the Bible, and you really, if you know my material, if you study my material and go read the Bible again, you're gonna realize that if it's the original Bible, because that was also infiltrated, and for every religion, by the way, you will understand that it's talking about frequency, timelines. The spear of destiny actually was not exactly the spear of destiny, was actually also the spark of the frequency that is hitting every soul to create a proper timeline and reality.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So it was all quantum physics actually that was in the Bible, which we didn't. Wow.
I can break it down. I actually went into a place that they were downloading something to stuff, and the council said don't say anything until they start asking a lot of questions. And they start asking me so many questions. Then I said, well, everything that you're saying right now, I can break it down in physics. And for 3 hours or 2 hours and a half, I wouldn't stop talking, because every sentence I go, okay, that means, and I'll break down in metaphysics and quantum physics, how everything, because for me, I have direct download now. As soon as you tell me, and I can break it down, I see it. And I can talk to you for 20 minutes in a question. I can write it down, and I can say, this comes from here, this goes there, because blah, blah, blah. Do you remember this structure? Well, this structure is implemented here. It's like a map. So everything is quantum physics. You are physics.
You talk about Council of Nine.
Yeah.
Do you belong to the Council of Nine?
I was part of it.
Because you know so much.
I didn't
you
know
belong
that
to the Council
until I
of
was
Nine.
revealed. And they told me what I was in Pleiadian starship and what I was doing and all the stuff, so you don't know until they tell you later, because you gotta talking here parallel realities, because each parallel reality is vibrating in a certain sequence. We can see the 3D, the 4D, the 5D, but when everything stops spinning faster, your brain, by the frames, the way it's flickering, cannot catch it anymore, cannot convert it, cannot catch and retain the frequency. It goes above your stuff. That's why you don't see some of these extraterrestrials, because they're vibrating in much higher vibratory rate for you to even hold the vibration, or you're gonna evaporate. This is why we gotta raise the frequency slowly to hold the vibration. That's why not everybody can channel certain entities, positive entities or whatever, because whatever is the vibratory rate that you're vibrating, are you able to hold the vibration? And once you start raising the vibration through the heart, through compassion, because the higher entities in the positive reality, they exist in a higher resonance. So if you do only negative stuff, and you are selfish, and you think that somebody else is going to do the job and all this stuff, you won't be able to reach this level. You may summon negative stuff, that you will do, but you will never be able to connect I wouldn't say never. You will definitely have your angels, for example, or some entity that try to reach you through another reality, but doesn't mean you'll be able to hear it and implement it, because you won't be able to convert it. You won't listen, because even if they tell you something, you physically has to do it. When they download all that information to me, I had a choice not to do anything. So you see, it's a free will.
Yeah.
It has to happen from the free will. And if you really do it right, and if you really listen, and if you really do it in the name of humanity, they will give you more information, more support. And when you, for your soul, you will also do stuff that through expansion, you will do more important stuff. You will be part of councils. You will be a commander of spaceships, and create different things, and oversee and make decisions, because you have to know the structures. You have to know how creation works, and you have to know.
Can you also explain what is the Council of Nine? Is it like a group of 9 people appointed?
It's a councils from different extraterrestrial groups and different entities that they collectively. It's almost, think of it as a Supreme Court that are coming from different realities to oversee ETs, planet Earth, ascension. They have a right to change your hologram. They have a right to change your bylaws. It's very difficult to change somebody's agreements, by the way, but they can do it, things like that, because your soul has an agreement to come to planet Earth to liberate. And not everybody that comes in, oh yeah, I want to help humanity, and a moment you find the difficulties and you go down, or you get very greedy for money. And money is simply a vibration. It's still, you can have a lot, but if you implement it through giving and sharing, you're always going to have stuff to survive. Of course, it's got to be with integrity. That's why I created the Quantum Manifestation Network. When you go to my website, marinajacobi.com, scroll down and you're going to see Rumble, YouTube, and Quantum Manifestation Network. You can sign in, but if you choose to support us monthly, we can expand our generosity. You're going to see another webinar only for the people that are supporting us monthly, because we have a balance, to support ourselves with a network, and to basically, but you can join there. You can share everything for free. Just out of gratitude for everybody that's supporting us monthly, we're gonna do something extra for them.
Can you mention why? Because we were talking about money, right? One of the biggest things about what I learned from you about money is when you said that you don't charge, and also why it's important for even the people who are taking in all the content. It's important that they also give back in the form of money to you as well. Can you explain something about money? Is money evil?
Well, the money is just energy, because the way they told me, see, there's a video that is called Money Structure, and then there's one that is singular distribution, all the stuff that you're going to learn about how, but actually money has its own vibration, its own sequence, and you can have incredible abundance, but when you give the free will. Why is that? Because the free will of the person, when it gives from the heart, doesn't plaster a hologram. When you say to somebody, listen, you come to me, but you got to pay me $10 million in order for me to say something to you, right? Well, at the moment I say that a sound wave, $10 million, immediately creates a platform of hologram right in front of you. And when that happens, when it comes back and forth from the mirror image of your creation, it's got to go through that. But if you leave it free to allow the person to choose whatever they want to give you from the heart, then that sound wave that comes back to you is much stronger, more potent, and you collecting more potency. So in turn, if that particular person chooses for any reason not to support you, you already collected that giving, but you're not going to know where the next moment when that is going to come, you're going to get whatever you need, but you're not going to know from where you're getting it. However, for the person that is taking it, if you constantly watching somebody's material, if you're constantly using the stuff and learning, they said that person, if never chooses to support the person that is giving them everything, they will collect also something that is in a low vibration, and they will look for abundance, but it's not going to come to them because they never distribute to somebody. Because they said, when you know that somebody is also supporting themselves, paying the bills for all these platforms, how can you possibly constantly taking their fruit of labor and never never supporting them when you know that they have to pay the bills. So you kind of stealing knowingly, and you accumulate that. And yet, believe it or not, it's 3% that are really donating. Because why? Because not because people are stupid, it's because we've been manipulated constantly. Somebody, for you to allow somebody to take your consciousness, and when you've been given the free will, you don't know how to support. It's time to learn how to support and how to support each other. It doesn't matter what that is. But if you constantly, this is almost like you are in a field and you're producing apples and stuff like this, and there are 10 people that just sit there eating the fruit of the apples but never went to put a water or to do anything in the field. What's going to happen? Everybody's going to say no more. No, that's it, you're done. And they said, so in order to have a balance, they told me, you can give a suggestion. The way for my sessions now, we have a suggestion, and yet you have the free will if you still want to donate or not. Or when we did Quantum Manifestation Network, you have a free will to come in, to exchange and stuff like this. But if you support us, they told me, create an extra platform when for the people that supporting you to do something extra. Because it's not fair for somebody to constantly support us and yet the rest of them sit and piggyback riding on somebody else's money when they have what to give. And believe it or not, sometimes when you say the truth and when you do it, some people get offended. And yet, how could you possibly be offended? And just being offended for something that is true, it shows you what level you've reached for yourself. How can you possibly use somebody's material for 1 year and never distribute a penny for that person's job? And yet everything is still there. You can always access my videos. The quantum manifestation video is always going to be like that. But if you support something extra for the people that support in the quantum manifestation network, and you can't blame for that. This way, they said, you create a balance this way. And that's what we did. That's what we're doing. Actually, we're launching this pretty soon, maybe next month, But if you want to subscribe there, it's always for free. And if you want to support us, then you'll have access to, I do webinar, we have a vegetarian work. And if you go there and you have abilities to do stuff, you connect with people who think alike, and you use only energy philanthropy. You can suggest, for example, okay, I'm okay, suggested like $100 for an hour or whatever for the stuff. And people have the free will to give that or not to give that, But I said never ever, if you go to the Quantum Manifestation Network, please, if you put some kind of a price for suggestion, always to be something that is, a good for people. You know very well that if you put like a lot of money, people will have a very difficult time to support themselves. So have integrity in the name of humanity.
Thank you so much, Marina. Do you have any final advice for us?
Well, I just want to say thank you very much for having me, and I hope that I touch your hearts with this information. And I really, really hope that you really see through the veil of all this and choose to do something physically in the name of humanity. And that will be the biggest reward for me from you. And thank you so much. And good luck to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marina. Thank you
very
so much
much
for coming and speaking to us.